Welcome to Lunch with Legacy Leaders, a weekly talk show with local and national thought leaders on issues impacting the Black community. Now introducing our host, Miss Anne Marie Sorrell.
Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Lunch with Legacy Leaders. I'm your host, Anne Marie Sorrell, President and CEO of the Mosaic Group. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us this afternoon. Before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsors for making this broadcast possible. We'd like to thank Broward Health, AARP, the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County, and the African American Black Alzheimer's Disease Initiative at the John P. Huntsman Institute for Human Genomics, University of Miami, Miller School of Medicine. If you or someone you know is experiencing loss of memory or memory problems, please contact their research team for more information at 877-686-6444. Now, today, we are going to be making a very special announcement. MIA Media Group is launching 3 new shows. Now, if you love Lunch with Legacy Leaders, if you love Soul, which is hosted every Wednesday at 7 p.m., then you are going to absolutely love these 3 new shows that we're launching. And I want to introduce the host of those shows. And with me, we have Miss Brigette Lumpkins, who's a finance and wealth professional. We also have award-winning chef Hugh Sinclair, better known as Chef Irie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much.
Good.
I'm good, darling. How are you?
I'm wonderful. You know, one of my favorite chefs in South Florida, Chef Irie. so,
That's good to hear.
yeah, so let's kind of get into it, and hopefully Jay will be joining us soon. But in the meantime, let's talk. Let's start with Brigette. So Brigette, you're going to be rolling out a new show as a part of the MIA Media Group family. Your Money, My Money, which is a weekly 30-minute talk show that discusses topics around wealth management, generational wealth, personal finance, and more. The audience is the Black community in South Florida, and it's going to air every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. on Facebook Live, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So let's talk about, first of all, a little bit about your background, Brigette, and how you even got into the wealth management financial profession.
I can tell you how excited I am to be doing this. When I got the call, I was really flattered and thrilled. And so it's something I feel very passionate about, which is closing that wealth gap that we hear so much about between the Black community and, let's say, the people on whose behalf we built this country for free. So I really feel passionately about bringing that, about closing that wealth gap through sharing knowledge and bringing access to Black people, not only to information, but to opportunities or resources that they may not even know exist. And how did I get into this field? I didn't start out in this field. The world of finance and banking and all of that is something that Black people have historically been shut out of. And it's not a career that is aspirational for most Black people. If you're in the group of educated Black people who are sort of striving, you are seeking to be a doctor or an attorney or an activist or a politician or something like that, something that has maybe a social good or a really strong intellectual background. But making money for the sake of making money isn't something that is a value that's instilled in us at a young age, right? Because we just have different, I think, collective cultural priorities. And, I was attracted to this career sort of at the beginning of my professional career when I was doing something else, working a corporate job, and discovered everything that I was missing in terms of wealth building. We were getting stock awards and I had a 401k. I had no idea what any of that meant, how much money I should be contributing. And I really started to become aware of how much the big gap in knowledge and assets between myself and my colleagues, because this is not something that my family knew about or that I knew about. So I took myself to business school. I went to Wharton, I got an MBA, and I went to work on Wall Street, and I covered institutional clients, and I went about learning as much as I could and sharing that knowledge as I could with anybody who would listen, so that we could get in on the game. Like, why don't you have a stock portfolio? You know what I mean? Why don't you know what a bond is? Right. And so throughout my career since business school, I've worked on Wall Street. I worked for Lehman Brothers. I was there when it went bankrupt. That's a whole other story. Maybe it'll come up on my podcast one day. And I've also worked as a wealth advisor for Goldman Sachs, advising ultra wealthy clients on investing their money. And there's a huge gap between that knowledge base and the knowledge base of, your average Black person. And I want to bridge that gap and bring that knowledge so that we can collectively build wealth as a community. So I'm very passionate about that and can't wait to get started.
Well, that is amazing. And, it's such a timely topic. I just finished up the National Black Economic Conference that was just this past Friday, and MIA Media Group Legacy was a sponsor of that conference and has been pretty much since our inception of it. But, the theme each year is the road to generational wealth. And looking at the various ways that people in our community can build wealth, whether it's through home ownership, business ownership, investing in stocks, real estate, etc. So I am really excited to hear you and the various topics. Can you give us a little sense of what we can expect with your show and the types of guests you're going to have and topics?
Sure. So, the number one thing you're going to get it real straight, no chaser. So that's, I think, really important, for people to get an honest, clear message that is actionable and that they can internalize, along with resources to follow up. And hopefully with the lineup of experts in their various fields and topics, we will really get to chop it up and really get to the heart of the matter. You mentioned home ownership, and that is really, really something that Black people have been prevented from enjoying for a variety of reasons we don't have to go into here. We can go into it when we talk about that topic on my show. But because it's been denied us, sometimes we get fixated on that as like the only way to build wealth. And it doesn't even always make sense to build wealth through buying a home. Right? So that's what wealthy people know, is that half these people rent their homes. Like, they don't even own them. Their business owns them, and they lease them and write it off on their taxes, and they build wealth elsewhere in their portfolios. So it's not just about fix your credit and buy a house. We could get a lot more creative than that in terms of gaining access to those wealth building engines and creating a legacy to pass on to our children, and also for us to enjoy and sustain us through a healthy retirement and old age, right? So those are the kinds of things we're going to do. We're going to go beyond just how do you fix your credit so you can buy a house? It's like, whatever, rich people don't buy houses. I mean, they do, but that's not the only way to get, build wealth for you and your family.
No, I'm glad you said that. And I reflect back to a few years back. I had a client, an attorney. She only wanted to work with high net worth individuals. And so I reached out to some folks in my network. I was like, hey, do you guys have any, thing coming up? And one particular company invited us to a just little meet and greet with this gentleman who was out of New York, an economist out of New York, but he was talking about, and to be invited, by the way, let me clarify, to be invited, not that I had that, but you had to have at least $10 million liquid in liquid cash in your bank account. Not that I had that, okay? But I know people. so anyways, we go to this event and they're talking about everything from setting up trust funds and different types of estate planning and just things that was just Greek to me. Like, I had no clue. And I was like, and I'm sitting there in awe, and I'm like, and just, the ways that you don't have to pay taxes on these different funds. And I was like, wait a minute. I've never heard this conversation in the Black community. I've never heard this conversation about any of this. And that is one of the reasons why, I had incorporated those types of conversations in our conference. But I hope that, and I'm sure you will get into, setting up family trust and setting up family LLCs and things like that, that, not only are tax free, but, other benefits as well. So are those some of the things that you'll be talking about?
Well, I mean, you hit the nail on the head because, I spent years with a $10 million minimum setting up, having these trust and family LLC conversations with my clients at Goldman Sachs. So that's a space I'm very comfortable in terms of just what it means. But, if you have $100,000, you don't want to set up a trust because the cost of setting up the trust is going to erode the value of the trust. And so it's about at what asset level that those kinds of structures make sense. And, how do you get to that asset level? How do you get wealthy enough that a trust makes sense, right? It just doesn't make sense for like a couple $100,000 worth of assets. You really need to be well into seven figures before all of that fancy structuring makes sense. But how to get there, right? How to get there. You don't necessarily want to tie up all your money in a house. Like, do you want to buy a house today in this frothy market and think that you're going to make a lot of money on it that's going to make you rich and you're going to be house poor and miserable? So there's a lot of nuance to all of that, but certainly we will get into that because there may be people who are earning a lot of money now and kind of don't know what they're supposed to do with it other than flex. And it's like, well, you can flex with half of it and put the rest in a trust or whatever. So we're going to talk about that. And I really hope to reach an audience that's, a broad spectrum of folks with a broad spectrum of interests or whatever, but with that common interest of building wealth and bridging that wealth gap that the Black community really suffers from the most in this country.
Awesome. Well, I cannot wait, Brigette. I'll be tuned in as well. So, thank you. And Jay has just joined us. Thank you, Jay, for joining us.
Absolutely. The life of a small business owner.
Well, thank you. Well, anybody who knows me knows that I am a foodie. My thickness shows it. So, like I said earlier, one of my favorite chefs in South Florida is none other than the chef, the one and only Chef Irie, who's an award-winning chef. And he is going to be hosting the Flavor of South Florida, which is a weekly 30-minute show that reviews South Florida's Black-owned restaurants, detailing their culinary delights and special libations. The show will air every Thursday at 7 p.m. And of course, as all of our shows can be seen on Facebook Live, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And so you're going to be a tough critic because, you're a chef. I wouldn't want you critiquing my food,
Oh man, look at that. It's all relative, and I think, not to go in and feel like you're going to destroy people. No. We want to know where good places are to eat, and we want to make sure that these are places that are representing good food. Good. Whether it's American regional, from a cultural aspect. Are we doing Caribbean? Are we doing something with Latin flavors? So for me, as a chef, I've been in this business now for almost 22 years now. And started off after graduating culinary school, Johnson & Wales here in North Miami, worked restaurants and quite a few restaurants, and then decided to launch out on my own. So but as I've grown and progressed and developed throughout the years, taking advantage of traveling, want to do more. God, I want to stamp my passport. My passport is screaming, "Stamp me, stamp me, stamp me." But, to go and experience food and culture and food, and I hope people don't seem to think that they are two total separate entities. They go hand in hand. Okay. So when the most disheartening thing for me to hear is an American that leaves the shores of these United States and spend however money you spend to go to, lands far away, and you are looking for a McDonald's. What? No, you know. So, hopefully, when we are here, no, you can't do that, man. Immerse yourself in the food, in the culture and the food. They go hand in hand. Taste it, taste things, that you've never tasted before. Indulge in conversations you've never, indulged in before, so you can get a better idea of why you are there, why you should be enjoying this dish, that dish. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm going to talk about, and talk to the chefs, talk to the chef owners to get, dig into a little bit about their background and why they're doing the foods that they're doing, why they're doing the flavors that they're doing. Why are people coming to their why should more people come to their business, and experience what others have experienced? So I want to showcase that. And yes, small business, and restaurants got wrecked, from last year because, the pandemic. A lot of them went out of business. There are restaurants that are coming online, and there's still restaurants that are struggling. Not because they can't be open, but we understand that there's a there's a cause and effect when people don't get paid enough, want to get paid more, and so a lot of businesses have to strike a balance. Do we pay more or not? Well, the people that says that we want to pay more, they're not going to work for less. That's just the reality of it right now, especially in the hospitality business and the restaurant business. So for a lot of restaurants who are small businesses, for sure, most of them are, and they have one unit, um, you're going to have to pay a little more, come out of pocket, for your average workers. $10 an hour in the restaurant business is not going to cut it anymore. So we want to implore people, and right now, as it is, it's September. So for those of you who are out there and you already know of some black-owned establishments, and they may be participating in Miami Spice, even if they're not, go out and visit, some black-owned restaurants, and hopefully, when we've highlighted our restaurants, you will come out and and do the thing. Enjoy, yeah, I'm just saying.
Well, I just can I accompany you to the restaurants to be a taster of the food? I think
Come
you
on,
need some help. I think you need some help.
Yeah, I can use me have eat some food, right? Give some critique.
And Marie, I'm right behind you.
We're gonna take the whole legacy team.
I'm right. I'm standing right next to you, Anne Marie.
I want to come. Maybe we could do a rotation.
But it's cool that the show is going to be called Flavor, of South Florida. And as South Florida, I don't want to call it I want a melting pot. To me, it's not so much a melting pot, but sort of like an aggregate, a conglomeration of things coming together. Melting pot to me just sounds like a mishmash of everything that this, and South Florida is not a mishmash of anything. If anything, they're very ordered lines, and lines of demarcation, and lines of territory, here in South Florida, because you can go to little Havana, you can go to little Haiti, you can go to little Argentina. It is like anywhere, there's places that you can go in South Florida that will tell you the culture and the food experiences that you're going to receive in a lot of these areas, and so for people who live in in Fort Lauderdale, Broward, and don't venture across county line. Yeah, don't want to go to Palm Beach, don't want to go to Miami. I was like, listen, man, have vehicle, will travel, jump in your vehicle and go get you some goodies, man, because not everything in your county, is represented of, of the things that you would like to try. So I say, exploration, get some friends. If you don't want to drive, find somebody who want to drive. They drive, you treat them. Come down to Miami, someplace, you go further south, down there where you need a passport.
Well, I think that's what makes South Florida so beautiful culturally. Because even when we talk about Black-owned establishments, we're talking about everything from soul food to vegan food to Bahamian, Jamaican, Haitian, our Afro Latinos. It's so broad with the reach and types of food from. When I go to Miami Gardens, there's just this one. What is it called? It's a Jamaican patty store, and they have like 10 different types of Jamaican patties. But I go there specifically just to get the Jamaican patties. Even I get Jamaican patties in Palm Beach County, but they have lobster patties and shrimp patties and all types of patties. And it's just the smallest takeout, but they have a lot of people that come there just for their patties, right? And the rest of their baked goods. So I can't wait to see the diversity of restaurants that you will be featuring in your segment, and just, the backgrounds of the owners and their journey. And I think it's just always astonishing to be able to hear why people do what they do, especially when it comes to food, something that's just such a rich part of your soul, or at least my soul.
It's going to be awesome. And I think the part that's interesting to me is also, part of that background journey. Because, for me, I graduated from University of Florida with an architectural degree, and I'm a chef now. So people, I think, even if they weren't cooking, just to understand, that journey and, why that journey took him to food, why that journey took him to open a restaurant, and if that was, the thing that you've always wanted to do. I didn't grow up wanting to be a chef, coming from the Caribbean, we were all told, to be, doctors, lawyers, accountants, nurses, engineers. No one told us to go be chefs, but as the reality was, chefs were already there, great cooks, but it wasn't part of our ethos. It wasn't part of, what made us up. And it was, but wait a minute, people were still getting fed, when you traveled, you stayed at hotels, you were getting great food. So, chefing and the food industry wasn't highlighted, especially for people coming, from the Caribbean, like that. But now food and chefing and, reality TV food is like, the thing, it's just like so much of it, and not all of it is good. That I'm here to say it. Not all of it is good, but we want to highlight, places that people are going to come. So starting September 16th. Wow. I feel like my calendar, my whole week now is just, I got something to do every day.
But that's a blessing. You could be twiddling your thumbs.
Right? True. Yeah. Yeah. So that, but it's kind of interesting. I think that would also help, when I deal with, with my clients, understanding, what's here in South Florida. Because to go out and because not everybody, I think, feels like they want to go out, especially people that say, well, I can cook it better. Well, the whole thing about dining out is not about what you think you can do better, is to enjoy an experience. If that is, that type of is offered, to sit, whether you're sitting by yourself or to sit with friends, family, and to enjoy the experience of dining. Yes. Put your phone to the side, put your phone in the bag, right? And look people in the face and have conversation, whether that's with a cocktail. You know, I love my cocktail. Thank you very much. And a glass of wine. So, and you know, it's a good part of the show is not just talking about the food, but if they offer crafted libations, I'm really interested in that too. Yes.
I need to, especially the ones with crafted libations. Just let me know when where I need to show up.
But of course, bottoms up, baby.
Well, that's awesome. I cannot wait until you launch and we get to just really experience these restaurants through your eyes. And just really learn from and hear from the restaurant owners and their team. So stick with us. We have Mr. Jay Reynolds, who will be hosting The Business of Black Business, which is a weekly 30-minute talk show that interviews Black entrepreneurs and advocates for Black businesses in South Florida. The topics of conversation ranges from access to capital, how to gain and obtain government contracts, best business practices, success stories, and more. And the show will air every Monday afternoon at 1 p.m. And of course, as all of our other shows can be seen on Facebook Live, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So Jay Reynolds, who is the principal of Wolf Creek Consultants, correct?
Yeah, Wolf Creek Consulting, exactly. And I am so doggone happy to be a part of this. I can't begin to tell you. And listening to the plans for these other programs, I know that I'm going to be tuned in from them, and hopefully we can do half as good as you guys do as it relates to giving information to the community and literally making a difference. But for me, first of all, my name is Jay Reynolds. I own Wolf Creek Consulting. We are an executive staffing firm. Ranked 5 or 6 in the top 100 staffing firms by the South Florida Business Journal. My company's been around for about 22 years. This is not going to be a discussion about commercials for businesses, meaning that my intention with our discussions is to give people access, right? To make sure that people are in the room where it happens, kind of where they can actually pick the brains of and ask questions to entrepreneurs to say, okay, well, how did this happen to you? Why did it happen? You know, what are some of the landmines that you had to miss in order to be where you are today? It is Damon from Shark Tank always talks about for us, by us, FUBU. Remember FUBU, the brand that we all used to wear the t-shirts, whatever. This is for us, by us, designed to make sure that we are able to get that access that we normally would not get. I think that for entrepreneurs, for the most part, we're all in our own little silos. We're all trying to pay the bills and we're all trying to make things happen. And we don't necessarily expose ourselves to all of the things, all of the information that you can get and the access and the experiences of other Black businesses that will allow us to kind of catapult or springboard our own businesses, because we're so sometimes focused on paying the bills ourselves. Real quick story. I was not an entrepreneur. That's not where I was headed in my life. I wanted to be the corporate guy with a corner office, you know, that kind of thing. That's where I was headed. I was not going to be an entrepreneur because I came from a family of entrepreneurs, you know, and they work too doggone hard. So my life was going to be corporate America, corner office, you know, the black shiny suit. However, you know, after doing that for about 15 years, I'll tell you a real quick story. I was out 40 weeks a year, flying all over the country. Came home one time in particular, it's raining, right? Raining cats and dogs. I walk into my house. I got a raincoat on. It's like 7, 8 o'clock at night. I got a hat on, raincoat. I'm wet. I walked into the door. My daughter opens the door and screams and runs away. The dog, she's got this little schnauzer that follows her everywhere she went. The schnauzer tried to bite me and all of this kind of stuff because I'm never around. They don't know me. My daughter doesn't know me. The dog who's supposed to know me, he doesn't know me. I walk in the house, take off my coat. My daughter runs over to me and hugs me and says, "Daddy, I'm so glad you're home." The dog comes over and apologizes to me. And he says, "Man, I didn't know it was you." And that's when I decided, hey, look, if I can work this hard for corporate America, I can work this hard for myself. And I began the journey. Most entrepreneurs have that kind of story. We almost all have that kind of story. And I want to put people in the room so they understand how it happened, why it happened, and to make them feel comfortable that it can happen to them too. Looks like we're running out of time. So I'm looking forward to the journey. I'm looking forward to talking to these successful Black businesses and sharing their story with everybody else.
Well, thank you, Jay. I am also looking forward to the journey and you sharing the stories. We just actually wrapped up National Black Business Month, which was the month of August, but Black business is 365. So, we look forward to meeting your different guests as well as, learning from them, their story, their journey, and also supporting their business as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Which is what this is all about as well.
That's a big part of it. We have to make sure that we support each other, for us, by us. And again, my intention at the end of the day, I want people to feel like they were in the room when it happened.
Absolutely. So I'm going to do a quick lightning round of any closing thoughts or any excitement that you want to leave with our audience about your upcoming show. So I'm going to start with Brigette.
This is great. I can't wait to see all of your shows. And like I said, Chef Irie, if you need a ride along, especially when you do the Ethiopian food, holler at me. But parting shots. I think come prepared to learn something you did not know. There's a lot of knowledge out there that we don't have access to as a community about money, and I'm here to bring it to you. So get ready.
Awesome. Thank you, Brigette. Chef Irie.
Oh man, I'm excited to be doing this show, and I just realized we are actually in September already, so it's right around the corner. So, you know what? Come, hang out, learn some stuff, whether it's just about the food, about the places, and once we do and highlight, do go and support these businesses because they do need your support, and so and it's coming into the weekend. So please go out and have food and fire experiences. Eat, love, and live like there's no tomorrow.
Yes, I love it. Jay?
Education begins with a willingness to learn. Bring the willingness to learn. You're going to get access, I believe, to information that you ordinarily would not get access to, and business people, Black business people that are willing to share their stories with you. And some real talk. So bring a willingness to learn, and I believe it's going to help take your business from one place to the next. These other businesses from one place to the next.
Absolutely. And just in case you all missed the schedule, Your Money, My Money will be weekly every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. with none other than Brigette Lumpkins. The Flavor of South Florida will be every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. with none other than our award-winning chef, Irie. And lastly, the Business of Black Business will be every Monday afternoon at 1 p.m. then with none other than Mr. Jay Reynolds. So please make sure you mark your calendars. Stay with me for just a moment as we do a few quick announcements. Again, I want to thank our sponsors, Broward Health, AARP, the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County, and the African American Black Alzheimer's Disease Initiative at the John P. Husband Institute for Human Genomics, University of Miami Miller School of Medicine. Also, check out our current issue featuring our South Florida's 40 under 40 Black leaders of today and tomorrow. And if you missed last week's episode, you can go back and watch it because we did interview several of our 40 under 40 leaders and they were just phenomenal. Nominations are open now for our next issues, I believe, of healthcare workers. And please remember to tune into our show Soul, hosted by none other than Miss Nikki Jellin, every Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. as we disseminate intellectual entertainment on fashion, arts and culture, relationships, mental health, and food around South Florida. As always, please share this video because we know that there's so much great information that someone out there will benefit from, and mark your calendars. And we'll see you again next Thursday at noon. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. More money.